The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with the usual cacophony of alien languages, each species vying for dominance in the symphony of interstellar politics. Crystalline Zelthians chimed like wind through glass caves. The Krygon delegates hissed in their guttural tongue, while the jellyfish-like Aquarians pulsed with bioluminescent communication. And in the back corner, almost invisible among the grandeur, sat two humans. Ruhi adjusted her plain gray uniform, her dark eyes scanning the assembly with quiet patience. Beside her, Jack slouched in his seat, arms crossed, his expression unreadable behind a carefully maintained mask of boredom. They had been assigned to the back row, the diplomatic equivalent of a child's table at a family gathering. "Look at them," Ambassador Krixtal of the Zelthian Empire chimed mockingly, his crystalline form refracting rainbow light across the chamber. The representatives of Earth, so quiet, so insignificant. Laughter rippled through the assembly. The Krygon war chief Thards joined in, his serpentine head weaving with amusement. "They send only two? We bring entire delegations. Perhaps they have nothing worth saying." Ruhi's jaw tightened imperceptibly, but she remained still. Jax merely raised an eyebrow, a ghost of a smile playing at his lips. The council session dragged on. Territorial disputes, trade agreements, resource allocations. When humanity's petition for increased representation came up, it was dismissed within minutes. The council didn't even allow Rui to present their case. Earth has been part of the galactic community for merely 50 cycles, High Arbiter Velkoth announced, his 6 eyes blinking in sequence. "You have no significant military, no economic powerhouse, no advanced technology beyond what you've borrowed from us. Your request is premature." More laughter, more ridicule. Jax leaned toward Rui, his voice barely a whisper. "Should we tell them?" She shook her head minutely. "Not yet. Let them finish," but the council wasn't finished. Ambassador Krixtal stood again, his crystalline voice ringing through the chamber. "I propose we reduce humanity's seat to observer status only. They contribute nothing. They are passengers in our galaxy, not participants." The motion gained immediate support. Species after species voted in favor, each casting their holographic vote with barely concealed contempt. It was then that Jack stood. The movement was unhurried, casual even, but something in his posture made the nearest delegates pause. Rui rose beside him, her dark eyes now blazing with an intensity that hadn't been there before. "Before you finalize that vote," Jack said, his voice carrying despite its conversational tone, "we'd like to introduce someone." High Arbiter Velkoth's mandibles clicked with irritation. "The time for human input has passed." "Oh, I don't think you want to miss this," Rui interrupted, pulling out a small communication device. She pressed a button. The massive viewport behind the council chamber suddenly illuminated. Space itself seemed to ripple, and then they appeared. Warships, not one, not 10, thousands. The sleek vessels materialized from stealth mode, their presence suddenly overwhelming the sensors of every ship in the system. They weren't the borrowed, cobbled-together craft the galaxy had seen humanity use before. These were something else entirely, angular predators of war, bristling with weapons that made the most advanced Krygon dreadnoughts look like children's toys. The chamber fell silent. "Allow me to introduce the Sol Defense Fleet," Jack said pleasantly. "Or rather, just Division 7 of the Sol Defense Fleet. We have 12 divisions." Ruhi walked forward, her footsteps echoing in the stunned silence. "You wondered why we were so quiet. Why we sat in the back. Why we didn't fight for better seats." She smiled, and it wasn't a friendly expression. "We didn't need to." On the view screen, one of the massive human carriers began to open its hangar bays. Thousands of fighter craft poured out like an angry swarm, performing maneuvers that violated several known laws of physics. Ambassador Krixtal's crystalline form had lost its luster, dimming to a dull gray. This is impossible." Our intelligence said. "Your intelligence was fed exactly what we wanted you to know," Jax interrupted. "Did you really think we'd show all our cards? Humanity didn't survive prehistoric predators, ice ages, world wars, and near-extinction events by being stupid," Rui continued, her voice sharp as a knife. "While you laughed at our primitive technology, we were reverse engineering everything we could get our hands on. While you mocked our lack of military, we were building fleets in the dark spaces between stars. While you dismissed us as insignificant, we were preparing. The High Arbiter tried to regain control. This constitutes a threat to the Council. Does it? Jax asked mildly. We're just sitting here in the back, remember? Quiet, insignificant. His smile was wolfish now. These ships? They're just here for observation. Much like our new observer status you were about to vote on. Another human vessel decloaked, this one dwarfing even the largest ships in the chamber. Its weapon systems came online with an audible hum that resonated through every hull present. Rui pulled up a holographic display. We've also taken the liberty of mapping every Council military installation, trade route, and defensive position. Not because we plan to use that information, of course, just academic interest. Furthermore, Jax added, walking toward the center of the chamber now, the crowd parting before him, we've developed some interesting new technologies. Faster-than-light communication that doesn't require relay stations. Energy shields that can shrug off antimatter weapons. And, this is my personal favorite, a rather nasty little virus that can infiltrate any computer system in the known galaxy. He paused, looking directly at Krixtal. Would you like a demonstration of that last one? We could start with the Zelthian banking network. This is blackmail, War Chief Thard snarled, his scales bristling. No, Rui corrected calmly. This is negotiation. You wanted to reduce our status. We're simply explaining why that would be inadvisable. The silence stretched. Outside the human fleet held position, a silent promise of overwhelming force. Finally, High Arbiter Velkoth spoke, his voice carefully neutral. Perhaps we were hasty. The motion to reduce Earth's status is withdrawn. Perhaps we should discuss increased representation instead? Jax and Rui exchanged glances. That sounds more reasonable, Rui said. She pressed another button, and the fleet began to fade back into stealth mode. We'll take our seats now. The ones at the main table, I think. Unless there are any objections? There were none. As they walked to their new positions, front and center, Jax leaned toward Rui. Think they learned their lesson? She glanced back at the stunned assembly. They ridiculed the quiet humans in the back. Now they know what sits behind us, the entire might of a species that refuses to be underestimated ever again. The council session resumed, but everything had changed. The two humans from the back row now commanded respect, fear, and most importantly, attention. Because the galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. Never mistake human patience for weakness, or human silence for submission. Sometimes the quiet ones in the back are quiet because they don't need to shout. They have fleets to speak for them.